Education and intellectual movements of the Nationalist period. Education and intellectual movements of the Nationalist period. The Nationalist period, often referred to as the era of decolonization and nation-building, was marked by significant social, political, and cultural transformations in many parts of the world. Education played a pivotal role in these movements, serving as a tool for both resistance against colonial powers and the cultivation of nationalistic ideologies. This article delves into the intertwined relationship between education and intellectual movements during the Nationalist period, highlighting key examples from different regions. The role of education in nationalist ideologies. Education has always been a powerful tool for shaping the minds of individuals and communities. During the Nationalist period, this tool was harnessed by various nationalist movements to forge a collective identity, strengthen cultural ties, and disseminate revolutionary ideas. Across the globe, from Asia to Africa to the Americas, education was seen as a means to liberate nations from the clutches of colonial powers. In many colonial territories, education had been largely controlled by the colonizers, with curricula designed to propagate the culture and values of the ruling nations. Nationalist leaders recognized the need to break free from this intellectual subjugation and to design education systems that celebrated indigenous cultures and histories. For instance, in India, leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru emphasized the importance of education in promoting self-reliance and national consciousness. The establishment of institutions like the Banaras Hindu University and Aligarh Muslim University aimed to revitalize Indian culture and instill a sense of pride in Indian heritage. Intellectual movements and educational revival. Intellectual movements during the Nationalist period were often intertwined with educational initiatives. These movements sought to challenge the existing power structures, redefine cultural norms, and inspire collective action. One such example is the Harlem Renaissance in the United States during the early 20th century. This cultural and intellectual movement, primarily led by African American artists, writers, and musicians, aimed to celebrate Black culture and promote racial pride. The movement sparked a renaissance in literature, music, and art, fostering a sense of unity and identity among African Americans. Language revival and cultural identity. Language, as a carrier of culture and identity, played a pivotal role in the Nationalist period's education and intellectual movements. Many nationalist movements sought to revive indigenous languages that had been suppressed by colonial powers. Language was viewed as a means to preserve cultural heritage and assert national distinctiveness. In Ireland, for instance, the Gaelic revival aimed to revive the Irish language and promote a sense of Irish identity in the face of British colonial dominance. Educational institutions like the Gaelic League played a crucial role in teaching Irish to the younger generation and instilling pride in Irish culture and traditions. Similarly, in many African colonies, efforts were made to reintroduce local languages into educational curricula, moving away from the imposition of European languages. Challenges and critiques. While education and intellectual movements of the Nationalist period brought about significant positive changes, they were not without challenges and critiques. One of the main criticisms revolves around the potential for these movements to lead to narrow nationalism and exclusionary practices. Critics argue that an excessive focus on one's own culture and identity could perpetuate divisions and hinder efforts for global cooperation and understanding. Moreover, the integration of traditional values and modern education systems posed challenges. Some argued that the nationalist emphasis on traditional values could hinder progress and technological advancement, potentially leaving nations at a disadvantage in a rapidly changing world. Legacy and contemporary relevance. The legacy of education and intellectual movements during the nationalist period continues to resonate in modern times. The efforts to promote indigenous languages and cultures have left lasting imprints on the identities of nations. In some cases, however, the tension between preserving cultural heritage and embracing globalization remains relevant. Many countries still grapple with striking a balance between teaching traditional values and equipping their citizens with the skills needed to thrive in a modern, interconnected world. In a world where cultural diversity is increasingly celebrated, the lessons learned from the nationalist period's educational and intellectual movements remain vital. These movements remind us of the importance of education in shaping not only individual minds but also the collective consciousness of nations. They teach us that education can be a catalyst for change, a tool for empowerment, and a means to bridge cultural divides. Conclusion. The nationalist period witnessed a profound interplay between education and intellectual movements across the globe. The nationalist period's emphasis on education's role in fostering pride, resilience, and unity serves as a reminder of the enduring power of learning and knowledge in shaping the destiny of nations. Continued. Evolving education for a globalized world. The advancements in technology, communication, and travel have interconnected nations like never before. In this context, education plays a dual role, not only in preserving cultural identities but also in fostering global awareness and collaboration. Promoting inclusivity and tolerance. The nationalist period's education and intellectual movements also underline the importance of inclusivity and tolerance. While celebrating one's cultural heritage is crucial, it should not come at the expense of excluding or belittling others. Education should aim to build bridges between cultures, promote open dialogue, and encourage the exploration of diverse perspectives. Lessons from the nationalist period remind us that education can be a powerful antidote to ignorance and a pathway toward a more harmonious global community. Education as a catalyst for social change. The nationalist period's education and intellectual movements demonstrate the potential of education to be a catalyst for broader social change. Movements such as the Harlem Renaissance and the Gaelic Revival showcased how education and cultural expressions can drive shifts in societal perceptions and norms. These movements underscore the influence of art, literature, and intellectual discourse in challenging prevailing power dynamics and advocating for marginalized communities. Today, education remains a tool for empowering marginalized groups and addressing social inequalities. Movements like the promotion of gender equality in education, LGBTQ+ awareness, and indigenous rights advocacy are all examples of how education can drive social progress. Conclusion. The nationalist period's education and intellectual movements have left an indelible mark on the course of history.